I finally understand why the addendum concerning right to terminate due to lender's appraisal is so confusing to the public. In this seller's market, sellers are refusing to accept a contract without the buyers waiving an appraisal contingency. So what sellers require is that buyer checks number 1 of the addendum concerning right to terminate due to lender's appraisal. With that checked, both sellers and buyers believe that what has been waived is buyer's right to have the property appraised for a certain price. But what the buyer is really waiving is their right to get a certain loan amount to buy the property. In other words, if the appraisal comes in so low that the lender has to reduce the loan amount, buyer, by signing that, will have to make up any difference in cash. The buyer better have plenty of cash to perform. If the buyer does not have enough cash to make up the difference between a lowered loan amount and the purchase price, then buyer will be in default under the full waiver. Then what happens? I wish buyer would just sign a release of contract, relinquish his earnest money to seller, and let the seller put it back on the market. But no, instead, buyer tries to renegotiate, during which time seller's property is kept under contract. My tip is to always verify there is enough cash to perform. My second revelation came when someone told me that the buyer was willing to pay $20,000 over appraisal, so they checked box 2 of the addendum titled partial waiver. In the opinion of value section, they wrote a figure that was $20,000 less than the sales price. The agent then called me to confirm that by doing this, she was protecting her buyer. And my answer was, what are you trying to protect your buyer from? She wanted to protect her buyer from having to buy the property if it appraised for less than $20,000 less than the sales price. I had to tell her it depended. If under the partial waiver paragraph she puts the $20,000, but the buyer has put a significant cash down payment in the contract, the buyer may not have an out. If the lender's low appraisal does not cause a reduction in the loan amount, then irrespective of whether the appraisal is lower than what the buyer wants, the buyer is still bound under the contract. Under paragraph 2, partial waiver, both things must happen. Property is not approved for the loan amount, and property appraises for less than the amount set. If the loan amount is not reduced, the buyer does not have an out. Both paragraphs 1 and 2 of the addendum, the contingency that is waived is the loan amount. It has no effect on sales price. If buyers want to protect themselves from buying a property that appraises for less than a desired amount, buyer needs to use paragraph 3 of the appraisal addendum. I hope my explanation of where some of the confusion may come may help you as you negotiate your contracts in this crazy market. And I ask that if these videos are of value to you, you will give Allegiance Title the opportunity to serve you on your closing of your transactions. Thank you.